Commander G1 stood at the large window of the observation deck, looking out at the darkness of space. Below him, the stars shined like tiny lights scattered across black cloth. He was thinking about many things, but mostly he was thinking about a promise made 50 years ago, a promise that his people had never forgotten, a promise that was about to change everything. The colony on Kepler 442b was dying. That was the fact that nobody wanted to speak about out loud, but everyone knew it in their hearts. The plants were not growing well. The water was bad. Sickness was spreading through the settlement. Day after day, more people got weak and fell down. Families lost their loved ones. Children did not understand why their parents would not wake up anymore. The human colony that had traveled so far into space, that had left Earth behind to build a new future, was slowly disappearing. Then the Valdarians came. They came with their big ships that looked like nothing humans had ever seen before. Their bodies were made of something that looked like crystal, and they shined with their own light. They could have looked at humanity's suffering and decided to leave them to die. No one would have blamed them. But they did not do that. They gave the humans medicine. They gave them food. They gave them knowledge about how to fix the water and how to grow food in the bad soil. They spent months helping, asking for nothing in return except one thing: a promise. The promise was simple, but powerful. One day the Valdarians said they would need help. One day they would ask humanity to do something important. And when that day came, humans must help them. This was the debt. This was the agreement that saved humanity when they had nothing else. 50 years had passed. Humanity had grown strong again. The colony on Kepler 442b became healthy and beautiful. More human settlements spread across space. Humans learned how to build better ships. They created new technologies. They became important players in the galaxy, though many did not respect them fully. But they had never forgotten the Valdarians. They had never forgotten the promise. Now the day had come. G1 heard the soft sound of the door opening behind him. He did not turn around. He did not need to. He knew who it was. Ambassador Dolthrax walked slowly into the room, his crystal body making a gentle sound like glass moving. The Valdarian was tall, much taller than G1, and his presence made the room feel different. More important somehow. "Commander G1," the ambassador said, his voice like wind moving through empty tunnels. "It is time." G1 turned around slowly. He had been waiting for these words for a very long time. "I understand," he said simply. Dolthrax moved to the window, and both of them looked out at space together. The Valdarian began to speak. He told G1 about the archives. These were not just books or computers. They were the history of the Valdarian people. They held memories of thousands of years. They held knowledge that could not be rebuilt or created again. They were more important than anything else in the world to the Valdarians. The Kreth Syndicate had stolen these archives. The Kreth were criminals and pirates. They were feared across the galaxy. They lived in places where the law did not reach. They had taken the Valdarian archives and hidden them somewhere in the Obsidian Nebula, a place filled with danger and darkness. Now the Kreth were demanding money, so much money that the Valdarians could not pay it. The galaxy's other powerful nations would not help because they were afraid of the Kreth. So the Valdarians had to turn to those who owed them a debt. They had to turn to humanity. "The Kreth are strong," G1 said. It was not a question. He was thinking out loud. "Many soldiers have tried to fight them. Many have failed." "This is true," Dolthrax said without moving. "Many have tried. Many have died. But you are humans. You are different." "Different how?" G1 asked. The Valdarian was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "You have something that other species do not have. When you are pushed into a corner, when you have nothing to lose, you do things that others think are impossible. You do not see walls. You see ways through them. This is what we need. This is why we called on you." Jiwon felt the weight of this moment pressing down on him like something physical. He thought about the people on Earth. He thought about the colonies spread through space. He thought about all the humans who had come before him and all the humans who would come after. They were all watching. They were all waiting to see what he would say. "I will do it," he said finally. "I will go to the Obsidian Nebula. I will find the Kreth Syndicate. I will bring back your archives. This is the debt that my people owe. This is the promise we made." Dolthrax turned to face him, and his crystal body caught the light from distant stars. "You understand what this means?" he asked. "The Kreth will not want to give up what they have taken. There will be fighting. There will be danger. Some of those who go with you may not return." "I understand," Jiwon said. And he did understand. He understood completely. But he also understood something else. He understood that sometimes a debt is worth paying. He understood that sometimes you have to stand up and fight for something bigger than yourself. He understood that humanity had been given a chance to prove themselves, and this was the moment to do it. "Then we have an agreement," Dolthrax said. He reached out his crystal hand, and Jiwon took it. The touch was cool and smooth, like touching ice that never melted. "I will send you everything we know about the Kreth. I will give you resources and information. But the rest is up to you. You must build your team. You must plan your mission. You must succeed." When the Valdarian left, Jiwon turned back to the window. Space was still empty. Stars were still shining. But everything had changed. He was no longer just a commander watching the galaxy. He was now the person who would either save humanity's honor or destroy it. He pulled out his communication device and began to make calls. There were people he needed to find. There were people who could help him do the impossible. And somewhere in his heart, he believed that they could do it. Humans always found a way. That was who they were. Commander Jiwon knew something very important about building teams. Good people were not always easy to find, but they were always easy to recognize. You could see it in their eyes. You could hear it in the way they talked. When they believed in something, they gave everything they had. Jiwon needed people like that. He needed people who would not stop, who would not give up, and who could do things that had never been done before. The first person he visited was Dr. Minna. She worked in a research station far above the planet's surface, studying living things from different worlds. When Jiwon arrived at her laboratory, she was looking at something under a large machine, her face very close to the glass, her eyes filled with wonder and thought. "Dr. Minna," Jiwon said quietly, so he would not surprise her too much. Minna looked up quickly, but she did not seem scared. Instead, she smiled. "Commander Jiwon, you look like a man who needs help with something impossible." Jiwon found himself smiling too. "What makes you say that?" "Because you are here, and I am the person you always call when you need to understand things that other people do not understand." She stood up and put down her tools. "So what is it? What impossible thing do you need me to do?" Jiwon told her everything. He told her about the Valdarian debt. He told her about the stolen archives. He told her about the Kreth Syndicate and how they had never been beaten. He told her that he needed someone who could look at problems in new ways, someone who could see patterns that others could not see. Min-Ah listened without speaking. When he finished, she walked to the window of her laboratory and looked out at the stars for a long time. Then she turned back to him and said, "I will come with you. Not because we will probably succeed, we probably will not, but because we might succeed, and that chance is worth everything to me." The second person was Kai, and she was much harder to find. Kai was a pilot, but not the kind of pilot who flew for big governments or big companies. Kai flew for whoever paid her the most money. She flew through dangerous places. She flew things that should not fly. She broke laws. She made enemies. But nobody could fly like Kai. Nobody else had her skills. Ji-won found her in a place that was not very nice, in a city that was dark and wet and full of people who did not ask questions. Kai was sitting in a corner, drinking something that did not smell good, when Ji-won sat down across from her. "I know what you want," Kai said without looking at him. "You want me to die somewhere far away in the darkness. That is what always happens when important people come looking for me." "I want you to help me with something," Ji-won said. "Something that pays no money. Something that might kill you. Something that might actually matter." Kai laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "That sounds terrible." "It is," Ji-won agreed. "But you are the only person who can do it. I need someone who is not afraid to break rules. I need someone who knows how to move through places where they are not wanted. I need a pilot who can do things with a ship that other pilots think are crazy." Kai finally looked at him. Her eyes were dark and tired, but somewhere inside them was something else, something that wanted to believe that she could be more than what she was. "Tell me more," she said. The third person was Hai-il, a very smart young person who worked with computers and code. Hai-il could make computers do things they were not supposed to do. Hai-il could find information that people had hidden very carefully. Hai-il could move through computer systems like other people moved through cities. But Hai-il had done illegal things. Hai-il had stolen information. Hai-il had broken into places where the law said they could not go. When Ji-won found Hai-il, the young person was in a small room filled with many machines and lights. Ji-won explained the mission. Hai-il listened with complete focus. When Ji-won finished, Hai-il said, "This is the first time anyone has asked me to do something illegal for a reason that matters. Yes, I will help you." After these three, Ji-won had his core team, but he needed one more thing. He needed knowledge that only one person in the galaxy had. He needed to find Ji-yeon, who had once worked for the Kreth Syndicate, but had left them and disappeared into hiding. Ji-won took his team to the Meridian Hub, a huge space station where all kinds of people came together. The rich and the poor, the good and the bad, the honest and the criminals. It was a place where you could find almost anything if you knew where to look and who to ask. It took 3 days to find the information trader who knew where Ji-yeon was hiding. It cost them money and promises. But finally, they got an address. They found Ji-yeon in a room that was very simple with very few things in it. A bed, a table, a window looking out at space. Ji-yeon was thin and sad-looking, like someone who had been running for a very long time. "I will not help," Ji-yeon said when Ji-won explained what he wanted. "I left the Kreth. I want nothing to do with them ever again. They will kill me if they see me." "They will not see you," Mina said, "because we will move too fast. We will be too smart. We will do things they do not expect." "You do not understand," Ji-yeon said. "The Kreth are not like other people. They are machines of death. They do not stop. They do not forgive." "Neither do humans," Kai said with a small smile. "When we decide to do something, we do it. When we decide to fight, we fight. I have heard stories about your people, Ji-yeon. I have heard that you are strong. I have heard that you are brave. Maybe it is time to be brave again." Ji-yeon looked at all of them, at the commander who had come from the stars, at the doctor who studied life, at the pilot who was not afraid, at the computer expert whose mind worked like lightning, and finally Ji-yeon said, "If I do this, I can never go back. If the Kreth see me, they will kill me slowly." "But you already know what it is like to live in fear," Ji-won said. "Maybe it is time to do something that actually matters. Maybe it is time to be free." Ji-yeon was quiet for a long moment. Then, slowly, the person nodded. "I will help you, but only because I have nothing left to lose. And maybe, just maybe, we can hurt the people who hurt me." Now Ji-won had his team. 5 people. 5 humans and 1 person who wanted to be human. They were not perfect. They were not the strongest or the richest or the most powerful, but they had something else. They had the will to try something impossible. And sometimes that was enough. The ship they had stolen was not beautiful. It was not fast. It was not the kind of ship that made people look twice when they passed it in space. It was exactly what they needed. An old cargo ship with a tired engine and a look that said it was not important. No one would be looking for people like them on a ship like this. Ji-won stood in the main cabin as Kai finished the checks before they entered the Obsidian Nebula. The nebula was a place that other pilots feared. It was filled with rocks and dust and danger. The instruments did not work right there. The lights were strange. Ships could get lost and never be found again. But the Kreth had their stronghold hidden inside this nebula, and that was where the archives were. "All systems ready," Kai said, moving her hands across the controls. "But I have to tell you, Commander, if we mess this up, if we get caught, or if we are seen, there is no running away. The Kreth will hunt us to the end of the galaxy." "Then we do not mess up," Hae-il said from the computer station. The young person's fingers were moving across the keyboard very fast. "I have the false transponder codes ready. I have the fake documents. To anyone scanning us from outside, we will look like a regular cargo ship bringing food to the outer stations. Nobody will look twice." Min-Ah was studying information on her screen, information about the Kreth and their biology. "Their armor has weak points," she said. "They evolved on a high-gravity planet. Their bones are thick and hard, but the joints are not so strong. If we are careful, if we know where to hit, we can hurt them." Ji-yeon stood at the back of the cabin, not moving, not speaking. Ji-won could see the fear and the anger fighting inside this person. Ji-yeon knew what they were walking into. Ji-yeon had worked with the Kreth. Ji-yeon knew how cruel they could be. The ship moved into the Obsidian Nebula. The space around them changed. Lights of different colors moved through the dust. Red light and purple light and green light mixed together in ways that should not be possible. The ship's instruments started to show strange information. On the screens, stars looked like they were in the wrong places. Rocks that seemed far away were actually very close. "Hold course," Kai said to the ship, her hands moving slowly and carefully. She had flown through dangerous places before, but even for her, this was difficult. "Easy and slow. We are not important. We are not in a hurry." They moved deeper into the nebula. An hour passed, then 2 hours. The rocks got bigger, the space got tighter. Several times Kai had to change course to avoid hitting something, but she never made one movement that looked panicked or scared. She flew like she was carrying rocks to a space station on any normal day. Then Hae-il spoke. "Incoming scan. They are scanning us." Everyone stopped moving. Everyone stopped breathing. This was the moment where everything could end. "It is passing over us," Hae-il said after a few seconds that felt like hours. "The fake codes are working. They see what we want them to see. We are cleared to pass." The ship moved on. The Kreth stronghold appeared in front of them like a scar on the face of space. It was huge and ugly. It was made of metal that was dark and bent and looked like it had been through 1,000 battles. Ships were moving around it. Weapons were pointing out in all directions. This was one of the most dangerous places in the entire galaxy. They docked on the landing pad that Hae-il had arranged through the false computer codes. The team put on uniforms that made them look like cargo workers. They carried boxes that held their weapons, boxes that looked normal to anyone who was watching. Hae-il carried a computer device that was hidden inside the wall of the ship. "Remember," Ji-won said as they prepared to leave the ship, "we move fast. We get to the archive chamber. We take the archives. We get back to the ship. We get out. We do not fight if we can help it. We do not make noise. We do not let anyone see our faces for more than a few seconds." They left the ship. The inside of the stronghold was like being inside a machine of death. Everything was made of metal and cold light. Every door was heavy. Every corner had cameras. Every person they passed was someone who could kill them in a second. Minna felt her heart moving very fast, but her face stayed calm. Kai stayed behind Ji-won, looking like she did not care about anything. Hai-il was watching the screens of a small computer, watching the cameras, guiding them through paths where nobody was watching. Ji-yeon walked behind them, moving like a ghost, trying not to breathe, trying not to think about all the bad memories of this place. They reached the door to the archive chamber. "I am working on it," Hai-il said, hands moving fast on the computer. "The security is harder than I thought. These people are smart. It will take 30 seconds, maybe 40. 20 seconds went by, then 30, then 35. "Got it," Hale said. The door opened, but as they moved inside, an alarm started to sound. It was loud. It was everywhere. It was the sound of failure. "Run!" Ji-won shouted. "Take the archives!" Minna and Kai grabbed the large boxes that held the archives. They were heavy, but adrenaline made them light. They started to run back toward the ship. Behind them, they could hear the sounds of soldiers coming. They could hear weapons being prepared. Ji-yeon was running faster than anyone. This person had been hiding in fear for so long that now the fear had turned into pure speed and purpose. "This way!" Ji-yeon shouted. "I remember! I know the short paths!" They ran through the corridors of the stronghold. Shots came behind them, lighting up the walls. One shot hit the wall next to Kai's head, and she did not even slow down. Another shot hit the box Minna was carrying, and she felt the shock of it, but she kept moving. The stronghold's leader, Kren, stepped out in front of them. Kren was huge, twice the size of any human. His body was covered in weapons and armor. His eyes were cold like the vacuum of space. He was the thing that nightmares were made from. "You think you can steal from the Kreth?" he said, his voice like rocks grinding together. But Kai did not answer. Instead, she pulled out a device and threw it at his feet. It was a small bomb, nothing huge, but it was enough to make him step back. And in that moment, they ran past him. Behind them, Kren was already shouting orders. His soldiers were coming, their weapons were ready, but the humans were already at their ship. Kai was moving to the pilot's seat. Hai-il was cutting the connections to the dock. Minna was putting the archives in the safe place where they had prepared. "Go, go, go!" Ji-won shouted. The ship's engines came to life. The ship moved away from the landing pad, and plasma fire started hitting them. The ship shook. Alarms were sounding, but they were moving away from the stronghold. They were moving back into the Obsidian Nebula where the Kreth ships could not follow so easily. "They are chasing us!" Hai-il shouted. "3 Kreth fighters!" "Hold on," Kai said, and she did something crazy. She steered the ship straight toward a place in the nebula where the rocks were closest together. The place where no other pilot would ever go. The place where a ship could crash and break into 1,000 pieces. But Kai did not crash. Her hands were perfect and fast. She moved the ship like it was dancing. She moved between rocks that seemed impossible to fit between. The Kreth ships tried to follow, but they were bigger and slower. One by one, they fell behind. Then they stopped following at all. When the alarms finally went quiet, when the ship was safe in the deep part of the nebula where the Kreth could not see them, everyone looked at everyone else. They had done it. They had gone into the stronghold of one of the most feared forces in the galaxy. They had taken what they came for, and they had lived to tell about it. "Now," Ji-won said, breathing hard, "we just have to get home before they figure out where we are going." News travels fast in space, faster than any ship, faster than any message. It travels through the networks that connect all the stations and all the planets. It travels through the radios and the computer systems. It travels through conversations between pilots and traders and soldiers. Within 3 days, every major faction in the galaxy knew what had happened. A small human team had stolen from the Kreth Syndicate. The Kreth Syndicate, which had never been defeated. The Kreth, which had conquered whole systems. The Kreth, which made other species afraid just by existing. And they had been beaten by humans, by people who came from a small planet called Earth, by a species that most galactic powers did not even respect. The reaction was not what the Kreth leaders expected. On every space station, in every trade center, in every military base, people were talking about it. Some were laughing, some were shocked, some were afraid, because if the Kreth could be beaten, then nothing was as safe as they thought. But most of all, people were watching. They were waiting to see what would happen next. The Kreth response came quickly and with terrible force. Kren, the Kreth warlord, was not a patient being. He was not someone who thought about things for a long time. He felt anger like a fire, and fire needed to spread. He sent out orders across the galaxy. Kill the humans, attack human ships, destroy human settlements, make the humans pay for their pride. The first attacks came 3 weeks later. A human cargo ship that was traveling between planets was caught in space by 3 Kreth fighters. The captain tried to run. The captain tried to hide. But there was nowhere to run in the empty darkness of space. The Kreth fighters destroyed the ship, and all the people inside it died. 300 humans, gone in an instant. Another attack came 2 days later. A human settlement on a small moon was attacked by Kreth soldiers. They came at night, without warning. They destroyed the power plants and the water systems. They took some humans as prisoners and left the rest to fight for survival in the cold darkness. Another 500 people dead or missing. The attacks kept coming, day after day, attack after attack. Human ships burning in space, human colonies fighting against enemies they could not stop. The fear began to spread through human space like a disease. The fear that they had made a terrible mistake. The fear that the Kreth would destroy humanity for their pride. But something else was happening at the same time. The Valdarian Collective made a decision that shocked the entire galaxy. They announced that they would stand with humanity. They would offer their military help against the Kreth. They would fight alongside humans. This was not a small thing. The Valdarians were one of the oldest and most powerful species in the galaxy. For them to take sides was huge. For them to take the side of young humans was shocking. Many other species began to watch more carefully. If the Valdarians believed in humanity, maybe humanity was worth believing in. Maybe this young species had something special. But the Kreth did not care what other species thought. Kren gave orders to destroy humanity completely. He gathered his forces. He called his allies. He promised power and wealth to any faction that would help him eliminate humanity from the galaxy. The galaxy was moving toward war. Jiwon received the reports of the attacks in his headquarters. He watched the videos of burning ships. He read the messages from families who had lost people they loved. He felt the weight of these deaths, and he knew that every one of them was his fault. He had stolen the archives. He had struck first. He had made the Kreth angry. "Do not think like that," Minna told him. They were alone in his office, and she could see the pain in his face. The Kreth were always going to attack. They are what they are. If not for this, then for something else. The only difference is that now the whole galaxy is watching. Now other people know that humans can fight back. "People are dying," Jiwon said. "People will always die," Min-Ah said, and there was sadness in her voice. "But at least these people will die knowing that someone is fighting for them. At least their children will grow up in a galaxy where humanity is not weak." Kai came into the office with news. "The military has finished building the new ships," she said. "They are asking if you are ready to attack." Jiwon stood up. He walked to the window and looked out at Earth below him. The planet was beautiful. The cities were shining. The oceans were blue. This was what they were fighting for. This and all the other human worlds that existed in space. "Tell them yes," he said. Tell them that we are going to fight. Tell them that the humans are going to be heard in this galaxy, not with our begging, but with our strength. Hae-Il had hacked into the Kreth communication systems. The young person could hear their plans. The Kreth were gathering a huge force. They were planning to attack the human home worlds. They were planning to make humanity suffer so much that other species would never dare to challenge them again. Ji-Won called a meeting. Every human military leader came. Every human government representative came. And he told them the truth. "The Kreth are coming," he said. "They will be here in 3 weeks. We can run. We can hide. We can try to negotiate. But none of those things will save us, because the Kreth do not negotiate. The Kreth do not forgive. The Kreth only understand power. So we must show them power. We must show them that when you attack humans, you do not win. You lose." "But they are so much stronger than us," one general said. "Their ships are bigger. Their weapons are more powerful." "Yes," Ji-Won agreed. "But we are smarter. We are faster. We learn from our mistakes, and we do not give up. Ever. That is what makes us human. That is what will save us." Ji-Yeon stood at the back of the room, and this person was smiling. For the first time in many years, Ji-Yeon was smiling, because Ji-Yeon knew something that others did not know. Ji-Yeon had seen humans at their worst, and now Ji-Yeon was seeing humans at their best. "I want to join the fight," Ji-Yeon said. "I want to help you. I know the Kreth. I know their weaknesses. I know how they think." Ji-Won looked at this person who had been so lost, so broken by fear. And he saw someone who was not broken anymore. "Welcome to the human military," he said. The countdown began. 21 days until the Kreth would arrive. 21 days to prepare, 21 days to train. 21 days to ready themselves for a battle that would decide the future of humanity. In those 21 days, something changed in human space. The fear did not disappear, but it became different. It became the kind of fear that comes before a fight. The kind of fear that makes you strong, that makes you focus, that makes you ready. Humans were no longer the victims. They were becoming the fighters, and the galaxy was about to learn what that meant. The Earth Council met in silence. The room was large and round, with a ceiling that showed the stars above them. 12 humans sat at the table, and each one of them carried the weight of their entire species on their shoulders. They were arguing. They had been arguing for hours. "We must surrender," one counselor said. Her name was Min-Soo, and she was old. She had lived through many wars. "The Kreth are too strong. If we fight, they will destroy us completely. But if we surrender, if we give them what they want, perhaps they will let our people live." "And what do they want?" another counselor asked. His name was Teo. "Do you think they just want the archives? No. They want to show the galaxy that humans are nothing. They want to make us slaves or worse. Surrender will not save us. It will destroy us in a slower way." "Then what do you suggest?" Min-Soo asked angrily. "That we fight against impossible odds? That we throw our young people into a battle they cannot win?" Before anyone could answer, the doors to the council room opened. Ji-Won stood in the doorway. He was not dressed in military clothes. He was dressed in simple human clothes, the kind that farmers and workers wore. He looked tired, but his eyes were clear and strong. "I request permission to speak," he said. The council members looked at each other. Some nodded. The oldest council member, Park Hoon, gestured for Ji-Won to come forward. "You may speak, Commander." Ji-Won walked to the center of the room. For a moment, he did not say anything. He just looked at each council member one by one. Then he spoke. 50 years ago, he said, the Valdarians came to us when we were dying. They could have left us to die. Nobody would have blamed them. But they saved us. They gave us a reason to live. They asked us for one thing in return. They asked us to help them if they ever needed us. We said yes. We promised. Jiwan paused. His voice became stronger. And now they need us. And they are not the only ones. The people in the colonies need us. The families who have lost people to Kreth attacks need us. The children who are growing up in fear need us to be strong. Not because we want to be strong, but because they deserve to live in a galaxy where their people are not weak. But the Kreth will destroy us, Minsu said. Maybe, Jiwan said. Maybe they will destroy us, but I do not think so. I have fought against the Kreth. I have stolen from them. I have looked into their eyes. And you know what I learned? I learned that they are not gods. They are not unstoppable. They are strong, yes, but they are not smarter than us. They are not faster than us. And most importantly, they do not have what we have. What do we have? Tayo asked. We have nothing to lose, Jiwan said. The Kreth have power, but they are afraid of losing it. Humans are already at the bottom. We can only go up. We do not have power to lose, so we can fight with everything we have. We can do things that other species would never do. We can fight in ways that the Kreth do not expect. This is what makes us dangerous. Minsu was silent. She was old enough to know that Ji-Wan was right, but she was also old enough to know the cost of war. If we fight, Park Hoon said slowly, we fight together, and if we lose together. Is that what you are asking? Yes, Ji-Wan said. I am asking humanity to stand up, to fight, to show the galaxy that we are not a species that can be pushed around. The council voted. It was not all yes, but the yes votes were stronger. Humanity would fight. That night, Ji-Wan made a broadcast that reached every human in the galaxy. The broadcast showed on every screen. It was heard on every station. Humans in space colonies, humans on worlds far from Earth, humans in small settlements and large cities, they all saw him. This is Commander Ji-Wan, he said, and his voice was calm and clear. I have something to tell you. The Kreth are coming. They want to destroy us, but they will not destroy us. They will fail, and I will tell you why. The screen showed images of humans. Humans building things. Humans creating things. Humans helping each other. Humans reaching for the stars. Humans have done impossible things, Ji-Wan continued. We traveled from one planet to another. We built cities in space. We created medicines. We explored the unknown. And we did these things because we never give up. We see a mountain, and we climb it. We see a wall, and we break through it. We see darkness, and we bring light. The camera moved closer to his face. The Kreth think we are weak. The Kreth think we will break. The Kreth think that when they attack us, we will fall to our knees and beg them for mercy. But they do not know humans. They do not know what happens when you push us into a corner, when you threaten our families, when you kill our people. That is when we become most dangerous. That is when we fight the hardest. Images came on the screen. Kai flying a ship through impossible spaces. Minna studying ways to defeat their enemies. Haye-Il working with computers, finding the secrets of the Kreth. Ji-Yon standing tall, ready to fight against the people who had hurt so many. We are not the strongest species in the galaxy, Ji-Wan said. We are not the oldest. We do not have the biggest ships or the most powerful weapons, but we have something else. We have courage. We have hope. We have a reason to fight. And today, I am asking every human to remember why we came to space. We came here because we wanted to be more. We wanted to prove that humans could do great things. Well, this is the moment. This is when we show the galaxy what humans can do. The broadcast ended, but the message stayed with people. In every human colony, in every human ship, in every human home, people watched that broadcast and felt something change inside them. Fear did not disappear, but it changed into something else. It changed into strength. 3 days later, the military was ready. Kai had trained hundreds of new pilots. Minna had taught soldiers the weak points of Kreth armor and weapons. Haye-Il had created computer systems that would help humans fight smarter. Ji-Yon had given the military every secret about how the Kreth thought and planned. The Kreth fleet appeared in space near Earth. It was huge. It was terrible. It looked like a storm made of metal and weapons. But when the Kreth fleet saw the human ships that were waiting for them, they stopped. The Kreth were not used to being surprised. "Send them a message," Ji-Won said to the communications officer. "Tell them, we are humans. We have come to fight. We will not surrender. We will not run. Today, you learn what that means." The battle was about to begin, and humanity was ready.